All right, guys, happy Sunday. Welcome back. Let's see the properties that are for sale today. There are three income producing properties that hit the market today. There's another one that got kind of like updated, but we saw that one yesterday. But there's three that I'm excited to show you guys today. Just so you know, I had somebody reach out and they want to know what area we cover. So we basically cover everything that you guys see right here. I don't really go all the way into West Palm Beach. I really keep it to like what I call like South Florida. And that part of West Palm Beach, like near Lake Okeechobee, is just too far for me. So what I'm looking for is in this area. Now, if you guys want me to cover all of West Palm, just let me know. I'll just expand that little area there, and no biggie. So with that being said, guys, let's take a look at the actual. So we know where we are at with 6.3% interest rates, right? And we know how we got there, guys. So if you guys haven't joined us before, we always take a look at the Federal Reserve's 30-year fixed rate mortgage average in the United States, of course. And so we see here that the price has gone down. And basically, this is an average over the last week in the United States for 30-year loans, which is usually the product that you're going to go get when you buy one of these residential multifamilies, right? And so right now you can see we were at 6.37 as of 2 Thursdays ago. As of last Thursday, we're at 6.3. So God willing, with this trend continues. Although with the whole thing with Iran going back and forth, like I don't know where it ends up. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we're at in the future here. So all right, with that being said, guys, I always start by taking a look at the actual market itself, so you guys have an idea of where we sit. Okay, and right now, over the last 7 days, 1,970 homes hit the market, and in the same amount of time, 1,980 homes saw a price decrease. So that's a 1-to-1 ratio. What does that mean for us? It means that the probability of people that are hitting the market, basically the properties that we're seeing today, that they'll have a price decrease is pretty freaking high, right? It's a 1-to-1 ratio on the amount of people that are coming onto the market and the amount of people dropping the price. And now you might say, yeah, Andres, but the people that are dropping the price, they probably hit the market like 2-3 months ago. And yes, that is the case, okay? But nevertheless, it just speaks to the actual market, okay? And believe you me, like most sellers right now in South Florida, I don't think that they're feeling the pain quite yet. The ones that are really feeling it are these price decrease folks, right? But these new on market people, they're very optimistic, right? The property hit the market today. They're checking Zillow every single second, see how many people are viewing their listing. But in reality, what happens, right? Like that optimism kind of fades away quickly. And so especially if they overprice their property, it's going to go away very quickly when they see like weeks pass by and their agent doesn't call them or calls them to let them know that there's like literally like zero calls to even see the unit, let alone put an offer on it. So with that being said, guys, when we look at a property and we're like, all right, like this is really close to making sense, right? Keep in mind that there's going to be some wiggle room. You're going to have right now in today's market some wiggle room. So if you're looking for a property and you're like, hey, Andres, I'm not going to buy anything that's obviously a D. I'm not going to buy, and I might consider a C, but I'm looking for a B, right? And we have something that's like a C plus, right? Just based off of the price. Well, you should consider that price might be movable, right? Where now it can make it a B deal. And we'll go through all of that in every single deal that we analyze today. So with that, so basically the way that you should approach a deal when you are ready. So with that being said, let's take a look at today's listings. Like I said, the last time I saw there were 4, but really one of them we went over yesterday. Okay, it kind of disappeared. All right, cool. So there's the 3. Perfect. All right. I like to look at them this way, guys, on a price per square foot basis. Starting with the most expensive, we have, and I'm going to be taking notes, guys, we have a $1.25 million fourplex in Miami-Dade. Okay. Right now, let's put this here too, $1.25 million duplex fourplex in Miami-Dade. They're currently paying $14,797 a year in taxes. Interest rate is 6.3. Square footage, 2,464 square feet. Okay. Do they tell us how much they're collecting in rent? They do tell us. They said they're currently collecting $7,100 in rent. And we'll verify that in a second. All right, and they do tell us it's in flood zone AE, which is not the best. You're gonna pay a bit of a premium for that, but that's okay. It's not gonna be a whole lot, hopefully. Let's take a look at the quality of the product, okay? And we can see right away they have like, it looks like grass, like legit grass. It's well maintained, at least manicured, right? They painted the sidewalk here, or the walkway gray. So it looks like it's fairly well maintained. So far, so nice. Yep, same thing on the inside, you know. Not the newest stainless steel refrigerator, but it's got stainless steel appliances. They probably opened that up. Not a fan of the box ACs, but you know, it gives you an opportunity to improve over time if it has space in the attic here. All right, I have no clue what the hell this is. Maybe a fan. Not a fan of that bathroom. It could use a bit of washing, but I mean, overall, I think if you washed it and made it look nice, it could be not bad. Okay. All right. So I would give this quality of a product a B minus. Okay, guys. But it's a fourplex. So let's see if it's legit. Let's see how much money it's making. Let's look at the guts of this deal. Okay, so it's Miami Beach, right? Great opportunity at the address. Fourplex featuring a 2-2 and 3 1-1s. 2 units currently vacant. Perfect timing reposition. And increased rent. So they're saying that you could increase the rent. Separate electric meters, newer roof, and updated just a couple years ago. Okay. So it's a flat roof, so you're not going to have a lot of space. If you guys wanted to actually put, what do you call it? If you actually wanted to put central AC, you're not going to have the space in the attic to actually add it. So you're going to be stuck with either the box ACs or mini splits. Okay. I prefer mini splits. They look nicer, but all right, cool. So it says that they're having one unit, right? The 2-2 rents for $2,300. They're saying that the 1-1s rent for $1,600 a piece. Now, this is important, guys, right? So, like, it looks like the 2-2 is actually leased, right? It looks like the 2-2 is actually leased, and one of the 1-1s is actually leased. But check this out: there's 2 units that are vacant, right? They don't mention anything about the vacancy. Usually, if like they're having one left over for vacancy, they keep it just so that they could advertise it as like, hey, if an owner occupant wants to buy this, like there's 1 unit ready for him to move into. But it might be costing him trouble renting them at these prices. So that's something, right? Like that's a red flag that I come up with when I see that, you know, that there's multiple units that are vacant. All right. So with that being said, as the property stands, right? As the property stands, they are collecting, in fact, $7,100. Okay. Or they could, that's how they claim. They claim that they could collect $7,100, and they're going to use one of the leases, right, to prove that it does. That's what they're trying to say here. Hey, one is leased. We could prove to you it rents at that price. But you know what, guys? Everybody gets lucky. Like even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? You could get lucky with a tenant that's going to pay you more than the market. It doesn't mean that you can go out and repeat that success easily. And that's why the other ones are vacant. All right, so with that in mind, what do the returns look like right now, guys? What do the returns on investment look like right now? Okay, and as the property stands, the best return on investment this property could actually yield is a 6.7%, guys. 6.7%. And I don't know about you, but that's not enough money for me. That's not a good enough return for me, especially when the S&P returns 10%, right? And mind you, this return on investment is actually calculated as an internal rate of return, so it's based on cash flows. But still, and I know that the S&P doesn't actually cash flow until, you know, you pull all the money out, right? But we are estimating here that, you know, you're grabbing that money and you're keeping it, and you know, at the end of the 30 years, you're selling the property, you're liquidating, and you're moving on, you know, and you're doing a 1031 exchange too, so you're getting tax benefit. All right, with that being said, guys, what does it actually look like in terms of cash flow? So we know real quick, right? Does it pass the rent check, or does it pass the 1% rule, guys? Let's go back. It doesn't really pass the 1% rule. As a matter of fact, let's analyze this completely. Let's go back up here. All right. And as it stands, right, we could see that it's below the 0.7, the 0.7, which is at least the minimum threshold for me to consider, like really like looking at a property and going to like do, more due diligence, more than we do here. Okay. And also at the current rents, it only pays for 93% of the mortgage. That's your DSCR, your debt service coverage ratio. It only covers 93. So for that reason, when it comes to the actual 1% rule, as it stands right now, it's failing, guys. Now, the rents, we talked about the rents and how the rents look, right? Let's look at the 2-1s, right? In Miami-Dade, 2-1s rent for $2,300 on median, right on the money, $2,300. And they're saying that the 1-1s, they rent on the rent on median, or the median rent for the 1-1s is $1,600. That's right on the nose too. So I would say that, I would give this guy a pass for the rent check. All right, it's possible you could get these rents, but it looked a little wonky, right? It looked a little wonky. So I would say at best, like those are the rents, but you would really, double check this stuff. So let me put that here, guys, for the rents, double check. Okay, what's next? What are the actual returns? The returns that we saw, guys, I mean, it's below 10%. So for me, that's an automatic fail. In terms of cash flow, right? In terms of cash flow, where do we stand? Could you cash flow at all with this property? And the answer is no, only if you buy cash. But everything could basically cash flow if you buy it, outright, right? So with that being said, it's also, for me, it's a fail as far as it comes to cash flow. And then the last one is, could it create wealth? Okay. And here's the way that you could pass the wealth meter for me, or at least get close to passing it. If you could create wealth with any kind, because you create wealth with any kind of financing, for me, it's basically a pass, right? Because even though you might have a negative cash flow or zero cash flow, the property is still going to continue to appreciate, and the tenants are going to be putting money in your pocket, in your piggy bank, better yet, because they're going to be paying off the principal on your loan. However, if the interest rates and the purchase price are so that even the rents are not able to pay for everything, and including the appreciation and including the payoff, it's still eating into your pocket where you have to put money out of your pocket every single month. In that case, then it's actually destroying wealth, right? So it's actually destroying wealth. The only people that like get some wealth creation would have to put down 25% down payment, or again, buy cash. And so for that reason, for me, as far as wealth creation is concerned, this property also fails. Now, right, those are the way that the property is currently looking. Now, what can we do? Can we increase the rents, guys? Can we make this deal better in any way, right? And we already looked at the rents. That's basically what you could get for the rents, right? So that's not really, you're not going to get a whole lot there. Now, would it be realistic to drop the price at all, right? And I think that the most you could possibly drop this guy to, if somebody's selling a house for $1.25 million, I don't see this guy really going below like 1.1. But let's put it crazy, guys. Let's say that this guy's really motivated, which, by the way, let's check. Let's see how motivated this guy actually could be. Give me 1 second. We'll come here. Sometimes here in the quick folio, like in the folio for the property, you'll see that they're, behind on taxes or something like that. But there's nothing like that here. Okay, no violations, nothing. As a matter of fact, like there's some noise complaints there, sanitation violation, but they're all taken care of. And I mean, these are pretty old. Okay, so that's like normal stuff. So I don't really see this guy dropping anywhere less than like $1 million, right, for the property. And at that point, guys, it would be a 0.71% on the 1% rule, right? But you still would not, and banks would not be too happy lending you money at this point, right? They wouldn't be too happy. The minimum threshold that they could, lend you money at is at 110% of your mortgage payment. basically a 1.1 or 110% DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. Okay, so it would make it barely possible. Okay, now with that being said, right, we're already maxed out on the rent, so we're just assuming the best case scenario is that we could drop the price on this property. And where would the return on investment be, guys? Where would if we could actually get this guy to drop $250,000, right? 20% of his price, all right? How would that improve the return on investments? And the answer is that it really wouldn't, okay, guys? At best right now, so the rents are true. I think that's the best that we can get, 7,100, okay? There's no distress in the property. And the best case scenario that you could drop the price that would be somewhat realistic would be like $250K, okay? And at that point, the best return is still 9%. So you're still losing to the S&P on average. So imagine going through all that stuff, guys, and you're still losing to the S&P 500, right? You still don't cash flow, right? And would it create wealth at that point? Let's go down here. Well, it would, right? It wouldn't destroy it, at least. So it would be like a so-so. And so for those reasons, guys, like there's no real way, right? Even if we did this, like it would still fail, right? On the 1% rule. The rent check, you know, like again, at most. That's why it's a next on the on the rent check. It would not get a good return on investment. It wouldn't really cash flow, right? And it would barely get like a next in terms of creating wealth. But the way that the property is, guys, and between that really big variable that you would need to get, you know, $250,000 off the purchase price or the asking price, makes this property just a fail. Something that, you know, there's just better properties, you know, that you don't have to go through all this hassle to get better numbers on. So for that reason, we're going to go ahead and say next. Okay, next up, right, we have this, let's see, guys, we have this triplex in Miami-Dade. All right, I'm writing this stuff down, and you guys should too, or take screenshots of this or something. 799,900, okay? It's a triplex. It's in Miami-Dade. They're telling us that the current rents, guys, are $1,400. That's what they say. That's tough, okay? Flood zone is AE. And if you guys know the 1% rule, guys, 1% of 800, basically the price is $800,000. Of $800,000 is $8,000. $8,000. And they're saying that they're collecting $1,400 in rent. So hopefully this is an error in the listing. We'll find out in a second. These are the pictures of the actual property. It looks pretty. It looks nice. Yeah, you know, it's nothing crazy fancy, but it's nice. Looks like out of like some 1990s movie, that bathroom. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's really interesting, like the storage space there. Okay, but I'm not mad at the room sizes, not mad at the floor. The bathrooms, you know, they could be newer, but you know, not terribly mad at them. You know, they're livable, it's passable. You could possibly get tenants. They put nice astroturf in the back. They try to do something here for the tenants, probably like some kind of like a fire pit or something, but next to plastic grass, maybe not the best idea, so they removed it. I don't know. Yeah, so it's got a lot of space in the back. Okay. And they have an additional like, you know, stove here with a washer dryer. Okay, so this is interesting. It's interesting. Let's look at the guts of this deal and see what's going on. We already have an idea for the feel of the actual product itself. Okay. So amazing opportunity to own this property, price below market to sell right away. Property features many upgrades and is ready to move in. Great location. Da 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 da. So let's check the folio and make sure it's a legit triplex. So it's zoned multifamily, we know that. It says it's actually 2 units, but that there's I don't know if I think add one means an additional dwelling unit. Okay, building addition. Okay. The city's not always super updated with their records. But it says that they said they have a 2-2, okay? That they have a 2-1 and they have a 1-1. The 1-1 is actually what's rented for $1,400. So let's put all this information up on the board here. It's $799,900, okay? They're currently paying in taxes, I forgot. $4,650. And mind you guys, that number will go up. Okay, especially if you buy it at that price point, it'll definitely go up. Square foot wise, they put 1,824 square feet. Okay, $1,400 is the only rent that they're collecting right now. But they do say that they are getting, that they have a 2-2 and a 2-1. And so obviously, guys, if you guys just buy it at this price, right? Like, and it's only making this amount of rent per month, like it's a hard fail, right? It's a hard fail. So 2 of them are vacant, and they don't tell us how much they're getting in rents. Okay. Now, as is, the returns on this property would be negative, guys. They would be negative returns, like terrible, terrible. But let's do a quick rent check. Let's see how much we could actually think that we could get on rents for this property, guys. All right. And so we see right here, we're in Miami-Dade, right? We're in Miami-Dade County, and they say that it's a 1-1, right? It could rent for $1,600. So I think that we have, an upside of $200 on the 1-1 possible. Then they say that they have a 2-2. Well, the median for a 2-2 in Miami-Dade is, for a 2-1 is $2,300. A 2-2, that additional utility could actually maybe give you another $100, $150. So, maybe $2,450. And then they say that there's also a 2-1. And so let's go in the median for that for $2,300, right? And mind you guys, this is just doing rough numbers. If this property makes sense, then you need to go out and look at that very specific area, because these median prices are for all of Miami-Dade, okay? For all multifamily housing in Miami-Dade. So, right, at best, with the prices that we have updated here, guys, right? $1,600 for the 1-1, $2,450 for the 2-2, and $2,300 for the 2-1, right? It would change this where this property could make sense, guys. It would be at a 0.7, it would be a 0.79 on the 1% rule, right? And the DSCR, basically the ratio that the rents are able to pay the mortgage, would exceed the mortgage payments by 41%. So you'd have money left over, right? We know that it would cash flow with a 25% down payment loan, a DSCR loan. You can make this property cash flow. So let's just take some quick numbers, right? Where would the property be at right now? I think if you could actually justify these rents, right? This property would be at a 16% return. At best, a 16.3% return using an FHA loan. Okay? We would need to prove these rents, guys, okay? So we would need to prove these rents. Let's see if the property is in any type of distress. We'll come down here. We'll click on this. There's a levy from the city of Miami for $760, but that's not a big deal. That'll get finished at closing. They would just take care of that. Okay, part of the property is in a special flood zone area. Okay, so you could use all this information, to negotiate with the seller. Hey, listen, Mr. Seller, you're in a flood zone, dude. Like, I'd love to buy your property at your price, but dude, you're like really, like, it's too much. So now what's it realistic that this guy could drop his price to, guys? Well, you got to keep a couple things in mind. If you could actually go out there and you could verify that these are the rents that the guy could actually get, right? Then the returns look pretty good. Anybody else that's running the numbers, that does the homework, that does due diligence, and finds out that the rents are viable, and that then they tour the apartment and they see like it's legit. Like, he did a pretty good job at dividing, the 2-2, the 2-1, and the 1-1. They might just go ahead and offer that money. Now, if you go in there and it's kind of like wonky, or like, it doesn't quite fit, but like, you think that you could buy it, you'd like to buy it, I think the most realistic thing that this guy could probably reduce his price down to would be like 725, right? And you never know. So I mean, I'm just saying 725 just for my numbers to run safe. But I mean, I would go in there and offer the guy like 650, and see, just tell the realtor like, hey, dude, like I'm gonna send you an offer for 650. Like, let me know what he says, okay? Because worst case scenario, he says no, right? And then you're like, you start having that conversation, building it up so that he feels like you're giving a little bit, but you start low, all right? So with that being said, guys, all right, I think that the real number where you guys could end up with this property, right? Maybe you start at 650 would probably be like somewhere like 725 with this guy, especially if he knows that he gets those returns. And if you could negotiate a 725 price, right? It's not in distress, guys. This property's not in distress. I think that a realistic reduction in price, again, would be, he wants how much? 800,000. So dropping it 75 grand. Okay. And what would the return there be, guys? The return on investment at that point would be 22.5% return on investment with an FHA loan. What does the rest of what does that actually translate into, guys? This is the more exciting part, right? It means that for this property, if you were to buy this using FHA, you would put down $25,000, and over the life of owning over 30 years, the property would give you back $2 million. That's pretty freaking sweet. Okay, that's pretty freaking sweet. All right, now what does that mean in terms of your cash flow? Well, check it out. Like, you wouldn't cash flow really right away, right? You would cash flow after like 2, almost 3 years using FHA, but you would cash flow on day one with a 25% down payment loan. And with a 10% down payment loan, you would cash flow before 2 years, right? So it's not terrible on the cash flow. And I haven't been grading this, guys. I actually have the grades from the old property, right? But then I think that this is a pass on the 1%, guys. I think that it's a pass on the rent checks. Actually, we got to really double check those rents. But it would be a pass, if we could double check that and it's true, then it's a pass on the return on investment. For me, it's a pass on the cash flow, guys. It's a pass on the cash flow. And I think at this point, like, this property creates wealth across the board, as you can see here. Okay, so it's also a pass. It's also a pass there. So with that being said, guys, I think that this is something that definitely warrants you guys going out there and doing that next step, calling your real estate agent and saying like, hey, get me the closed rents. Remember that, closed rents. The closed rents comps for 2 2s, 2 1s, and 1 1s within a 1/10 of a mile of this property. If there are none, do a 1/4 of a mile. If there are none, do a 1/2 a mile. Okay, and you want to look for products that look like these pictures, right? So you're gonna go back to Zillow and you're gonna go look at these pictures, guys, and you're gonna see like, all right, I'm gonna look for other apartments that look like this and how much those apartments rented for, okay? And if you could prove the rents that we just talked about, this property is not too freaking bad, because I haven't even done one thing. Look, guys, there's a probability that your taxes are going to go up, especially if you just buy it as a straight up investment property. Okay, so let's say they go up to like, I don't know, like $9,000. I'm not the tax appraiser. Like, you want to go in there and you want to estimate those taxes for yourself, right? But if that were to be the case, right? Although it wouldn't be the most fantastic thing for you, because now look, you're at 17% instead of 22%. Guys, these interest rates are going to drop at some point, right? These interest rates will drop at some point. And what happens if you refinance then, right? And I'm not saying buy the property on the bet of refinancing in the future. You should never do that. You should buy it for today's numbers and make sure that it makes sense for you today with today's interest rates, okay? With today's taxes, with today's price, with today's rents, okay? Make sure that the area is growing. There's a lot of things that you need to consider when buying a property, but I mean, one of the things that I like to, once the numbers make sense, I like to also, dream. So I like to think, what will it look like when I could refinance at a lower rate? And I think that once this whole thing with Iran is over, I think it'll end well for us. And now all of a sudden we have a friendly, government in Iran. The people there are freed. The people in Venezuela are freed. And now you have partners that also, chip into the global energy supply. I think that interest rates would go down to a 4 or 5. And guys, look what happens to the DSCR rate. It just goes through the roof if you're able to refinance at a 4.5% return on investment. And look what happens to your actual returns. 30%. This property has the potential, if you refinance in the future, to not be just an A property, but an S tier property. Okay, it has the potential to be an amazing, amazing investment. So cool. I did not expect that with this property, but it's cool to see. So with that being said, guys, let's go on to our last property. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and save this property, add it to my cart here. All right, we fine. All right, discard this. And don't mind the date, guys. This is just internal. All right, this last property is looking like it got beat up a little. All right, let's look at this. It's a $630,000 duplex in Miami-Dade. Current taxes are $7,578 per year. Square feet, okay, 1945. Interest rates are at 6.3%. Okay, they don't tell us how much the rents are, but we do know that's in flood zone AE, so it's not the best of flood zones. Okay, so let's put these rents at 0 for now. Okay. All right, let me just take some quick notes. This property is $630K. It's a duplex. It's in Miami-Dade. We don't know the rents. So the returns right now would be just 0. Okay. But let's look at the guts of this deal. Let's look at the quality of the product first. We already know that on the outside it looks like crap. And look at your neighbors. You have like a single family home here or another duplex. And then you have like this like larger like multifamily building next door. Okay. This literally looks like the house that the third piggy built, but like aged by like 120 years. Yeah, on the inside too, guys. Man, dude, like whoever the realtor is, like, do you really want to sell this, bro? Buy like a freaking Swiffer, dude. No, Swiffer would not take care of that. You need Hispanic cleaning power for that one. Okay, but this property, dude, if they clean this property, like, they could sell it much better. But yeah, the condition is just, I mean, look at this, guys. It's got flat roof mixed with like gable roof. No bueno. The roof looks old. It's got patches and everything. You can see they patched up right here along the chimney. You can see there's little patches here, or it's been losing shingles. So that roof is going to need to get replaced ASAP. All right, so the quality of the product, let's go back really quick just because it's important. So you can see it's right next to downtown Miami, right? So this is nice. It's probably like Little Havana or something, yep. So it's not a terrible location, all right? But, and there's like a little like building here in the back, like an additional one. But the property looks like crap, okay? Let's look at the guts of this deal and see what we can figure out. Investor special in the heart of Miami, duplex opportunity, exceptional opportunity to renovate or rebuild one of Miami's rapidly transforming neighborhoods. A duplex is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house plus a detached 2-1, offering strong potential for rental income, resale, or redevelopment. Located just minutes from Marlins Stadium and vibrant Little Havana. It sits within an opportunity zone, which is nice. Okay. Taking care, to capitalize on tax advantages and long-term growth. Okay. Sold as is, cash or hard money only. So basically, you need to come to the closing table ready to close. They're not going to care for you not being able to come up with the actual loan. The good thing is that a lot of times you could get a loan, like one of these loans, using a 10% or 25% down payment, and they will present it as hard money. Okay. So we can still look at this property. Now they say it's a 3-1. Let's do a quick rent check, guys. Right? We're gonna come here. Let's erase this stuff. Let's do a quick rent check. And a 3-1, right, could rent for in Miami-Dade on average $2,700. Now the way that this property is looking right now, guys, I can't say that this property is gonna rent for $2,700. Okay, like I think that this property, the way that it sits, dude, you'd be lucky if you got like $1,700 for it. I think, right? I think that's the minimum, even though it's in my like downtown or whatever. And then they say that there's a 2-1 as well. Well, the 2-1, I think that again, if it's looking like it looks right now, 1,500. Okay, so I think, guys, that the way that it is right now, at best, you're getting like a 5.4% return on investment, which isn't good, right? I mean, look at this. On the 1% rule, it's failing, all right? It wouldn't even pay for the mortgage if you bought the property just the way it is, okay? Again, it's failing as far as the return on investments. Like, we gotta say a next on the rents, because we're not really sure what we could even get for the rents here in this area. And that property kind of looked like it could get cleaned up. And if it could get cleaned up and it has AC, maybe you could rent it. Maybe you could rent it for more. But then that roof, right? There's just a lot of questions here. But it could be an opportunity. It could be an opportunity. Now, let's not just run away from this right away. Okay. Again, cash flow here, we're failing. Okay. Return on investment, we're failing. Cash flow, we're failing. And I mean, at this point, like, we know that this is probably going to destroy some sort of wealth. Yep, it destroys wealth for almost everybody too. Okay, so with all that being said, guys, right, what can we actually do to make this property a deal? All right, I think, guys, that if you could put some elbow grease into this property, right, which apart from that roof, maybe it wouldn't be too hard to do. What could this property look like? Okay, mind you, let's look at it inside. Outside just needs some pressure washing. It might just need some pressure washing and a new roof, and then this property is looking baller, okay? You would need to do your inspections, but maybe some pressure washing again and a new roof. I don't see any leaks in the ceiling here, right? I don't. It's just dirty. It's just dirty. It has box ACs, but I mean, you could easily turn this place into I think you could put some central AC in it. Okay, maybe not. You got to go in but look, it's got, oh no, that's the other one. Yeah. See, this one looks like crap. I think that this one would be way too difficult to like just turn around right away. But let's say that you're able to clean it up really, really well, guys. What if you could clean them up really, really well? What could the maximum rents that I think that you could get in that area? I think that the 1-1 would rent out for at least the 1,600. Maybe you could get 1,750 for the 1-1, okay? And then for that, for the 2-1. 2-1 is $2,300. Okay, so the 2-1, I think that you could get, yeah, $2,450 for that 2-1 if you really, really clean it out. You have AC, like it's nice. You paint those cabinets, okay? And what can you do with the 3-1? $2,700? Yeah, I think that area you can maybe even get $2,800. All right, let me think. $2,700 is about right for that 3-1, okay? And where would that put you guys at? Okay? All of a sudden, this property is not looking all too bad, okay? 0.82 and then 129% on the debt service coverage ratio. So, you know, you would be able to get a loan from a bank really easy for this. So you might even clearly the real estate agent and the owner don't believe in the property, but if you believe that you could get, you know, conventional financing on this, you know, you might be able to extend them an offer. Now, where do I think that you could actually get this guy to reduce his price by? I think that you could get this guy down to probably like $590, especially because they themselves don't believe in the property. I think that that's the case. So I think that you could probably get to $590 on this property. And if you settle at $590, guys, all of a sudden this property makes a whole lot more sense. And the maximum that I think that you could get to, okay, is again the $5,150 in possible rent. It does seem like it's in distress, right? The property's just like dilapidated, and the guy's probably, let's see if he has any problems with taxes. Now that we talk about it. No, just another levy for water. Yeah. But maybe he's paying, no, he probably hasn't paid out right. Let's see, does he have a loan on it? Nope. No, it's just don't. But he's probably saying like, hey, this property's getting older by the day, older by the freaking minute, okay? But you want to do homework around the property. You want to make sure that you're going to be good there for a while. But with that being said, where do I think the realistic price drop on this property is? Probably like around like 40 to 50K, okay? A 40K drop on that. And then that means that the best returns on the investment that you could possibly get from this property is about 15.2%. But mind you guys, you're gonna still need to like go in here and renovate a lot of stuff. But if you do renovate a lot of stuff, maybe you could get even more return on investment here, okay? So this is worth analyzing further. If you guys wanted me to do that kind of analysis, jump into the rents, and if you guys actually want me to go and see the property for myself and post it, I think that'd be pretty awesome. Let me know. I'd love to do it for a property kind of like this one where we could maybe really get some good numbers, because let's say you could actually, rent this out for like good money. Then that 2-1 might rent out for $2,500. And maybe you could get that 3-1 and just rent. Like, I think in Little Havana, people would pay you $1,000 for a bedroom, even if they share the bathroom with 2 other people. So I think you get $3,000 here. And then all of a sudden, these returns look like they're almost, in the 20s, which would be an A for me, okay? So, I mean, it's not as good as the last property, that's for sure, okay? But I think that this property does have some potential. And I think that just as it is right now, the potential at max would be like a 15%. 15.2%. All right, guys, but again, there's a lot of things that you need to check in order to substantiate or verify that you could get these returns. To me, it just, again, like looking at these pictures, right? A lot of this stuff could just be pressure washing maybe, right? Except the roof, obviously. But I don't see leaks. I don't see like these like clear telltale signs of leaks. I do see it being really dirty, and it makes me kind of wonder if they had some kind of like water damage issue. But you would need to go in there and check. But again, like I don't see the leaking, the telltale signs of leaks on the ceiling. But again, you can't tell much in pictures sometimes. There does seem to be like some kind of mold here. But I mean, if they just have the windows open or they don't have AC in the property, like that'll form in a heartbeat. Let me see. There are some signs here of peeling. Okay, there is a water damage mark here. Okay, but this is on the smaller unit. Yeah. So again, you might be able to negotiate even more money off of this, just because one, the quality, and two, you could say like, dude, I'm gonna have to put brand new roofs on this stuff. As soon as I get the property, I'm gonna have to put brand new roofs on it. So that being said, guys, that's our show for today. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will see you guys tomorrow.